for calling 911 all for a video prank.
The police chief says this was no laughing matter.
A video released by Upper Darby Police in Pennsylvania this week is going viral.
Not every 911 call ends in a good ending. Here are some of the most terrifying discoveries made after someone called 911.
You have a bunch of kids in the car. How many kids? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these kids to you?
Chained rescue. 2 police officers from the Louisville Metro Police Department in Kentucky were dispatched after a concerned neighbor called. With the house being barricaded, officers faced a challenge to enter the house after arriving on the scene to investigate. Unable to get into the house, the neighbors assisted the officers, who provided them with a ladder to reach the top floor window. They discovered a woman that was tied with a chain around her neck to the floor. One of the officers broke the chain with an axe before the lock was cut. The perpetrator, who happened to be her boyfriend, was found and arrested. Unattending parent. A single mother left her children unattended and locked them in the apartment room. A concerned neighbor called the police to report officers hearing 2 small children inside a padlocked apartment room. Officers who arrived on the scene used a bolt cutter to cut through the lock and checked to see if the children were okay. The parent finally appears, casually walking in while talking on a phone as if nothing was wrong or done wrong. After questioning, she was arrested and charged with endangering children. Low IQ suspect. Despite knowing he had committed a serious crime and was wanted for it, this guy almost called 911 on himself. A murder suspect dialed the emergency number to report officers over cold McDonald's fries. It all started with a disagreement with the fast food restaurant manager in Cobb County. Soon, the police arrived. As soon as one of the officers ran his details in the system to identify, the customer turned out to be a murder suspect who was wanted by the police. It then turned into a police chase, and a customer was arrested. Confused, intoxicated trespasser.
Been dispatched to a burglary in progress. Apparently the homeowner checked on the house and looks like he found a broken window and somebody's sleeping inside it.
Officer Hurd from the Dallas Police Department is dispatched to a burglary in progress. The officer responds to the call made by the owner only to discover an intoxicated man in the sweatshirt. Initially, he resisted the arrest, claiming that the house belonged to his girlfriend, who wanted him to break in.
Apparently your girlfriend doesn't live here no more.
Yes, she does. She's right there. She lives right there.
Before the officers could take the burglar away, they called the girlfriend, who never consented. The burglar requested Officer Hurd to drop him off at a train station instead so that he could walk home while being arrested. Chained victim. A 911 call was made by a bystander who witnessed a young woman who was kidnapped from her apartment in New Mexico. It wasn't long until the police found the minivan that was wanted in another kidnapping in Nevada. Officers had the suspects pulled over and taken into custody. Upon investigating the vehicle, they found a woman bound by chains in the back of the car who had relief after seeing the officers. Lost control. This isn't some high-speed pursuit, but rather brakes gone wrong.
Are you able to get your vehicle in neutral?
No.
Have you tried the emergency brake?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm not pulling that at no 100 miles an hour, ma'am. I'm sorry.
After the vehicle was spotted on I-95, officers threw several stop sticks in front of his black SUV, taking out most of the tires and slowing down the car before it was halted. Fortunately, no one suffered any significant injuries. Duo bank robbers. An off-duty police officer dialed 911 after witnessing a bank robbery in Brecksville, Ohio. Officers with this dashcam happened to be nearby and responded to the call. A high-speed pursuit started after the suspects were spotted fleeing in a getaway vehicle lasting several minutes. Finally, as the traffic at the stop brought the suspects to a halt, one of the robbers abandoned the car and attempted to flee on foot. Being injured by the accident, he and his accomplice weren't able to get far before the officers managed to grab them and place them in cuffs. Unusual braking in suspect.
Give me your hands! With your hands!
Expecting to run into hardcore burglars, officers came in numbers with an aggressive stance. Officers from the Lufkin Police Department in Texas were called in by dispatch of a burglary in progress, reported by the homeowner's alarm around 6 a.m., and upon hearing movement inside, backup was called in. Officers made an entry with a team and a plan, only to find a frightened deer shooed away by the officers soon after.
Open the door! Open the door! Oh! There we go.
Captive woman found. After missing for days, Ohio cops traced the perpetrator's whereabouts and recorded a dramatic rescue. Cops surrounded the suspected kidnapper, who was in the shed of his private property. The police immediately arrested him before they discovered the 23-year-old Chloe Jones. She was in a dire state after being assaulted by the kidnapper, who held her in the shed for 4 days. According to her, she made the mistake of accepting a ride that the perpetrator offered to her home. Annoying Karen.
Come out of the car or you are under arrest.
Typically, Karens are known to mess around with the general public, but this one chose a cop. On July 23, 2024, a male victim dialed 911 to report a chase of this aggressive woman in Alliance, Ohio. The 31-year-old woman had her car parked behind the victim's car and refused to move and even comply with the officers who arrived on the scene.
You can either come out of the car or I'm going to break out the window. I'm going to break out the window if you don't exit.
While she was filming, the officers warned of using force to break the window if she didn't comply. It was at this point that Karen got aggressive and rammed one police cruiser and drove into another before being arrested.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! On the ground! On the ground! On the ground!
Backfired prank. A couple of YouTubers purposely gained the attention of Los Angeles police officers while on the road just to prank. After the officers had the vehicle stopped for questioning, license, and identification, one of the passengers on purpose revealed that they were carrying coke in the back. Initially, one of the officers placed them in cuffs, while the other found Coca-Cola cans on the back. Realizing it to be a prank, the officers did not join in on the joke, and they were warned of facing a false report charge. Drunk passenger. An Uber driver who shortly after picking up a fare in Sacramento was forced to call 911 seeking help. Several times, his passenger attempted to grab the steering wheel to take control of the highway. The driver several times had to get him off, but the drunk passenger refused to stop. Out of concern, the driver finally stopped the car in the middle of the freeway, waiting for police. Dump Sephora shoplifter. Police in Irvine, California, were called to the parking lot of a shopping center about a suspected shoplifter. She stayed long enough till the officers arrived before hiding in the trunk of a Tesla truck upon seeing the police. Officers spotted her, immediately approached, and arrested her, hiding under a green blanket. Erratic predator.
Why's your zipper, your buttons down in your crotch?
Well, I probably just forgot.
This is perhaps one of the most disturbing police discoveries on the list. New Mexico police, after spotting a careless driver who was driving erratically. As the vehicle pulled over, officers initially expected this to be a DUI case until they made a concerning discovery.
Okay, and then you have a bunch of kids in the car. How many kids? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who are these kids to you?
This is my friend.
The perp had his truck full of underage children and was caught with his pants unzipped. Officers demanded an explanation from the 41-year-old Jeremy Guthrie minutes before placing him under arrest. According to him, the minors that he had in his vehicle were just friends. Jackpot marijuana bust. During a routine traffic stop, a truck driver was stopped by the officers from the Seminole Police Department. While checking the back, they were surprised to discover 222 marijuana plants. The driver, 46-year-old Bun Wong, busted, claimed to be licensed to transport the substance. The documentation he provided about the green cargo was incomplete and later discovered to be falsified. As a result, Wong was arrested by the police, and the vehicle, along with the substance, was seized. Kidnapping hoax caller. Of all the numbers that this girl could dial and mess around with people, she chose to do so to the cops. An 11-year-old girl was arrested by Florida police officers after she allegedly called 911 to a hoax kidnapping. Rampaging airport Karen. On January 17, 2023, Atlanta International Airport police officers were scrambled by dispatch to deal with a Karen meltdown. No one thought how severe or harmful the situation was until the officers reached the point.
Stop.
They discovered a woman who was spraying a fire extinguisher all over in protest. It all began after the woman refused to pay for her meal at Buffalo Wild Wings and assaulted airport staff. Police officers immediately confronted her in a smoke cloud with the extinguisher, making it hard for everyone to breathe. From this point till the very last, this Karen resisted very actively by kicking, spitting, resisting, and using aggressive language against officers.
You have been the
Shut your fuck.
You have been the highlight of my day.
Yeah, I bet.
Kidnapper nabbed. After what his kidnapper attempted to pull off, he got a swift and much-needed backlash. A 911 call was made by a watchful neighbor in Louisville, Kentucky, when a man with a red vehicle pulled over and kidnapped a young girl. The little girl was rescued with her face blurred for obvious reasons, and the perpetrator was arrested in no time. Hardcore shoplifter. Millburn police officers were dispatched to respond to a 911 call of a shoplifter on a spree in the Canada Goose store in a shopping mall. As soon as the officers arrived on the scene, they immediately spotted the shoplifter, who was attempting to walk out with clothes and items worth $10,000. The Burberry jacket that the suspect was wearing was worth $4,000, with each of his loot worth around $1,500 apiece. The suspect got aggressive as soon as they confronted him, and both the cops, along with the help of mall security, were able to put him down and into cuffs. Walking out. Surprise. Police officers were notified of a shoplifter at a clothing store, to which 2 squad cars and a motorcycle officer responded. Within minutes after arriving at the store parking lot, one of the officers entered the store looking for the suspect, who had instead come running out. With officers standing outside, they quickly took the shoplifter down and placed him in cuffs. He was then returned to the store to remove stolen undergarments and perfume. It turns out the suspect came to the store with his mother, whom he also managed to disappoint. Stubborn shoplifter. A store employee from CVS Pharmacy in Eau Claire, WI, called 911 to report a suspicious woman who refused to leave at closing hour. The police arrived at the pharmacy to try and talk her out of it.
Hey.
Oh.
Listen.
What?
Put your stuff down. You gotta leave. Yes, or else I'm gonna escort you out.
Oh my god.
Put your stuff down.
No, I don't want to.
I didn't ask you. I'm telling you, put your stuff down.
Oh my.
We're leaving.
When threatened with force, she did leave, but the theft security systems flagged her for shoplifting. Officers were then forced to confront her once again, only this time she was arrested. Upon recovery, several cosmetic products worth around $800 were discovered. Guilty councilman. Rhode Island police, while patrolling, found a parked vehicle with a man who didn't seem to be conscious. Upon approaching, officers found him holding a crack pipe in his hand. Upon waking up, the man, later identified as a councilman Matthew Riley, immediately attempted to hide the evidence. Officers questioned for a few minutes before detaining him and searching the vehicle. The substance that was found in his car tested positive for drugs. He was not only arrested and charged with drug possession, but also forced to resign from his position. Stashing out drug dealer. Police officers, after finding from numerous informants about a drug dealer in Northampton, where officers then raided the house. The drug dealer, who was identified as Asghar Ali, was caught on camera during the raid as he attempted to dispose of his stash by throwing it out of the window. Some of the officers who happened to be standing could find the evidence. He had drugs in possession and was arrested for it. Thieving kidnapper. A 911 call came in by parents who not only had their truck stolen, along with 2 young children within. Promptly after the call, an officer from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office managed to locate the vehicle and confront the driver. The suspect was a middle-aged white male who the officers managed to pull out of the truck and immediately place under arrest. The thieving kidnapper was charged with grand theft auto and 2 counts of felony kidnapping. Multi-million-dollar bust. Most drug busts are that of small street distributors. With this one, however, the cops hit the jackpot. After an anonymous tip that was made to the Narcotics Police Department, several officers and detectives raided a residential home. Even though they only caught a single suspect, they did, however, find approximately 500 pounds of dope that was packaged and stacked inside the property. The only suspect arrested on the scene denied involvement and claimed to be there just to cut grass. Entitled Karen. When princess treatments get too far, their side effects appear in adulthood. In Florida, officers were called in to deal with a customer who refused to pay for her pizza after placing an order.
It does matter. I had money in my account and now I don't.
He's in charge here.
Okay, I had money in my account and now I don't.
Okay.
This happens to me all the time. My car broke down. You're like...
When approached, she had no money or card to pay her $53 tab. She demanded officers let him fetch her phone from her home so that she could ask for money from her Facebook friends to pay the bill.
I'm confused. How are you going to pay your bill with your phone?
I'm going to ask people on Facebook to pay my bill. Morgan Wallen. He does do that.
After a lengthy discussion, officers placed her in handcuffs for defrauding the business. Kidnapped woman rescued. Alabama police responded to a call made by a Good Samaritan of a possible case of kidnapping. Officers found the van, which was identified to belong to a Los Angeles man with a brief violent criminal record. The vehicle was then surrounded and stopped by police. The accused had kidnapped a woman and kept her in the back of his van, which he had converted into a cage. She was rescued soon after the kidnapper was arrested. Serial shoplifters apprehended. Officers in Georgia were dispatched to a target branch for a possible shoplifting case. An employee from the loss prevention team informed the officers of the two individuals for shoplifting. Both the man and the woman denied the accusations and offered to be searched. At this point, the officers started investigating the couple, who later turned out to have stolen 2 TVs 30 minutes earlier from another target branch nearby. And it gets worse. Police found out that both individuals were serial shoplifters who had stolen $30,000 worth of items and were immediately arrested. Traffic stop drug bust. A police squad car made a routine traffic stop of a semi-truck in Indiana after noting suspicious activity. Initially, they only identified the crew while at the same time started searching their vehicle. One of the officers found several boxes of cocaine packages sealed and hidden in plain sight. The crewmen were immediately placed into cuffs, with the dope bust measuring to be a $2 million cocaine stash. Carjackers failed heist. After a vehicle was stolen in an industrial location, a witness dialed 911 to report the car theft. Officers in Seattle, Washington, arrived on the scene to investigate where, soon after seeing them, the suspect attempted to flee. With the patch on the road blocked, he tried to use the sidewalk and grass to drive away. With additional units arriving at the scene, the suspect eventually abandoned the car and jumped a fence on the other side. Knowing that he was already surrounded, he decided to evade by hiding in a dumpster, but was found and arrested. Junkie overdosing. While most junkies take care of their business in an alley or under a bridge, this one did so in public. After having accidentally overdosed, the man fainted and fell. Paramedics and police arrived on scene and managed to revive him before being taken to hospital. Angry Karen arrested. Police officers from the Hinsdale Police Department were serving an arrest warrant for domestic violence. They confronted Sean Malarkey, who also was charged with aggravated DUI for the 3rd time. She was spotted by the officers in the garage where they attempted to arrest her. From using verbal arguments to foul language and resisting arrest, she earned herself additional charges. She even tried to bite one of the officers with the warrant. What a mess! Arrested street dealer. A patrolling police officer in an area well known to be a place of drug dealers in Elgin, Illinois, found this suspicious man. The man was seen to be engaging in a hand-to-hand drug transaction shortly before getting into his vehicle. He was pulled over after several noted traffic violations, and it didn't take long for him to get hostile, so he requested a supervisor. While a K9 unit was en route, officers kept interrogating the man. Once the K9 unit arrived within minutes, it detected narcotics in the vehicle, and the driver was taken into custody. Drug dealer ambushed. A police patrol car in Cambridge spotted Robert Busby, an infamous drug dealer parked by the pavement on Cherry Hinton Road. Officers quickly sprung into action, having enough intelligence about him as the word was out for his arrest. As soon as they approached him, he attempted to hide the dope and make a run for it, but was detained. Upon questioning, he confessed to carrying drugs in his pocket. Junkie roommate. A concerned woman called the cops after noticing her roommate who was using illegal drugs excessively. Officers who responded to a wellness check approached the woman and questioned her for several minutes before eventually placing cuffs and taking her into custody. The junkie was transported to the Montgomery County Jail without incident for booking and charged with felony possession of a controlled substance. Shoplifting Karen. If there is anyone worse than a Karen that you could come across, it's one that also has shoplifts. After noticing this young woman stealing, a loss prevention staff member immediately took hold of her purse. While she was desperately trying to recover her purse, the staff member was waiting for the cops to arrive. From playing the woman card to pretending to be innocent, she tried everything to break free of the grip and even resorted to kicking the man. Finally, she abandoned her purse to leave, but was too late as officers arrived and arrested her. Dramatic shoplifters busted. A couple that was soon after being spotted shoplifting at a convenience store in Spruce Grove, Canada, were reported to the police. Once the officers arrived to investigate, it became an intense wrestling brawl. While the officers struggled to arrest the man, the woman took the opportunity to run into the store's back room and scaled a ladder for an alternate getaway route. She clambered into the space above the ceiling tiles but fell back into the store. As more officers arrived, she and her partner were arrested without further incident. Poor evading attempt. Instead of running or fighting back, these criminals picked up the most embarrassing hiding spot to evade cops. From hiding in clothes dryers, attic, storage ceiling, and piles of laundry to using a blanket, officers from Elyria Police Department arrested 7 suspects. The accused were found with a large stash of cocaine, meth, crack, and other prohibited substances. Prankster's karma. If you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, which this prankster must learn the hard way. A YouTube influencer who, just to increase his subscriber fan base, pulled off a publicity stunt by pranking police officers. One of his buddies called on 911, reporting a so-called suspicious activity to which officers from the Coral Springs Police Department responded. Once they arrived, they continued with their act until one of the officers checked their vehicle, only to find Coke cans instead of actual Coke. Once the officers realized the prank, the influencer was arrested for diverting emergency resources from several genuine cases. Sidewalk Karen. A 12-year-old boy who, while riding his bicycle, was confronted by an 80-year-old California woman. She pushed the kid and showed him backward, rudely asking him to get off the sidewalk, not knowing she was being recorded. The elderly woman even dared to escalate the matter to the kid's mum, who disclosed the video evidence otherwise. The mum even reported the matter to the police, charging her with assault on a minor. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like it and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to avoid missing any upcoming amazing videos. Until next time, goodbye.